The Fear Street Saga, Book 1, The Betrayal, written by RL Stine. Published December 22nd, 2015 by Simon Pulse. Read to you by Dave Cap. Chapter 10. Fled the village? William cried frantically, staring over Giles Roberts' shoulder to the straw piles where his wife and daughter were twisting in terror against the wooden stakes that held them. "Before dawn," Giles repeated solemnly. "But I paid Matthew," William cried. "I paid him to—" "The Fears robbed us," Giles told him. "They emptied their storehouse. They left us no food for winter. They took everything. Everything!" I don't understand," William cried, feeling the ground tilt and whirl beneath him. He shut his eyes, tried to steady himself. "They loaded all their belongings onto wagons," Giles told him, "and they disappeared with all our supplies." "But didn't they speak to you before they left?" William demanded desperately, clutching at Giles. "Didn't Benjamin tell you? Didn't Matthew tell you?" "They didn't speak to me, William," Giles replied softly, and then he added, "Please let go of me." "But the sentence against my wife and daughter were to be reversed. They are to be freed, Giles. Benjamin should have told you. He told me nothing," Giles said. The deputy magistrate's features grew hard. "The sentence must be carried out." There was no use struggling, Susanna realized. Her hands were tightly bound. She could not free herself from the stake. It poked uncomfortably into her back. Her wrists throbbed against the tight cords. Her shoulders ached. She raised her eyes to the sky. The sun had lowered itself behind the trees, the trees she had loved to walk among, the piney, sweet-smelling trees that had brought her so much joy, the trees where she and Edward had hidden during their brief, secret meetings, during her brief happiness. Lowering her eyes, she thought she saw Edward. He stood at the edge of the crowd, staring back at her. At first, Susanna saw hurt in his eyes, pain. But as she gazed at him, his face appeared to harden before her eyes, until it became a mask of cold hatred. She cried out and realized it wasn't him. It wasn't Edward. The boy didn't look at all like Edward. Two circles of yellow light approached from out of the grayness. 2 torches. "Mother," Susanna cried. "Mother, will it hurt?" Tears streaming down Martha Good's swollen cheeks. She turned her face from her daughter, struggling to stifle her sobs. "Will it hurt, Mother? Tell me, Mother, will it hurt?" Chapter 11. William Good pressed his hands against the sides of his face, but the anguished screams of his wife and daughter invaded his ears. "I'll hear their screams forever." Eyes closed, he could still picture their bodies twisting on the flaming stakes, still see their melting faces, their fiery hair. He had tried to run to them, but the 2 officers had held him back, pushing him to the ground, holding him on his knees as the choking black smoke fogged the sky and the howls of agony rose higher than the flames. "Martha, Susanna, my family." William was still on his knees when the fire had been doused, and the silent crowd had departed. He hadn't noticed that he was alone now. Alone with his grief. Alone with the stench of the smoke in his nostrils. Alone with the screams of his wife and daughter ringing in his ears. They burned so brightly, he thought, sobbing. They burned as bright as stars. The ground beneath him was puddled with his tears. He raised his eyes to the night sky, the color of coal, pierced with pale white stars. I know you're both up there, William thought, climbing unsteadily to his feet. I know you are both up there, bright as stars. He uttered one last wrenching sob. Then his grief quickly gave way to his fury. He strode home through the silent, deserted commons, his eyes held straight ahead. The fire faded in his mind, faded to dark, shifting images, pictures of Benjamin and Matthew Fear. His fury grew with every step. Betrayed. They betrayed me and stole my life. William? A voice startled him at his front door. It took a while to erase the hated images of the Fear brothers and focus on the dark figure in his doorway. Mary Halsey, he whispered. She held the baby up to him, wrapped tightly in a wool blanket. Take the baby, William. Take George. No. William raised his hands as if to fend the baby off. He is your only family now, Mary Halsey insisted, thrusting the baby forward. Take him. Hold him, William. He will help you get over your grief. No, William repeated. Not now, Mary Halsey. There is something I must do first. He startled her by pushing past her and entering his house, closing the door hard behind him. The house was dark, nearly as dark as William's thoughts. The fire had long since burned out. William moved quickly through the darkness to the back of the house. He pulled open the door that led to his special room, the tiny, secret room behind the wall, where even Susanna and Martha had never gone. The room where the black candles were always lighted. He stepped into the flickering orange light and pulled the door closed behind him. Whispering the ancient words of the purification ritual, William removed the scarlet hooded robe from its hiding place beneath a stack of wooden boxes and pulled it around him. William could feel the power of the robe even before he lowered the hood over his head. Bowing his head 3 times, William gazed around the circle of candlelight. Then he dropped to his knees on the dirt floor and began to chant the ancient words he knew so well. My wife and daughter were innocent, William thought bitterly as he chanted. They were innocent, but I am not. They had no knowledge of these dark arts, but I have practiced them well. Whispering the ancient dark curses, he began to scratch signs of evil in the dirt floor. He was breathing hard now, his heart pounding in his chest. Under the satiny scarlet hood, he gazed unblinkingly at the ancient symbols he was scratching in the dirt. A grim smile formed on his trembling lips. Innocents die today, William Good thought as he summoned the spirits of evil he had summoned so many times before. Innocents die today, but my hatred will live for generations. The fear shall not escape me. Wherever they flee, I will be there. My family's screams shall become the fear's tortured screams. The fire that burned today will not be quenched until revenge is mine, and the fears burn forever in the fire of my curse.